Right now, we're going to talk about the increasing cost of prescription drugs. And Big Pharma has said, you know what, we're jacking up prices this year. They originally announced 10% earlier. Now, the talking point is roughly 6.3%. Regardless, guess who's going to pay for it? Yep, you are. To talk a little bit about it this morning, Seth Denson joins us on the wake-up call again. He's a healthcare expert, works with GDP Advisors. And Seth, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Always good to be with you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. One of the things that President Trump had made as a campaign promise, and we've heard this talked about over the course of the last few weeks, was that he wanted to lower the cost of drugs and that it was a priority for his administration. And for the time being, after a little browbeating of the pharmaceutical companies, he was able to kind of stave that off, at least as far as increases go. Now they're saying, no, sorry, we're raising the prices. So I guess the first question is, they're saying that it's a matter of, well, it's inflation, man. It's inflation. Even though inflation is what, at about 2%, and they're going for close to 7%?
Yeah, so when they say inflation, they mean healthcare inflation. And what's interesting is they don't specify that, and they just assume that the American public is just going to turn a blind eye when they hear the words inflation. But to your point, inflation in the United States right now is about 2%. Healthcare inflation actually is down from where it's been in the past decade, and it's averaged in the past somewhere around 10 to 12%. It's down to about 6.5%, and just so happens that's about the range that these drug makers are increasing the cost of these drugs.
All right, when we talk about healthcare inflation, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so just to say it as easily as possible, if I got a procedure done last year, and let's say that procedure was $100, this year that same procedure would cost me $106 on average. So it's the actual increase. A lot of times in the insurance and healthcare world, you'll hear the words trend. It's the trending increase, and there's a lot of factors that play into that. What most Americans don't know is that administrative cost is roughly 40% of all healthcare expenses. And the problem and the challenge that we have is that every year more and more hands get into that cookie jar. And the more people are trying to pull money out of the healthcare system, that's why the inflation rate in healthcare is 3 times what it is on an overall GDP rate here in the United States.
All right. So who is really going to be making the money here on these particular increases?
Well, there's a couple of folks that make the most money out of the sale of the pharmaceutical drugs, and this is not to say that the pharmaceutical industry itself doesn't make a hefty profit, but I'll give them a little bit of, I won't call it protection here, but they do spend the money on research and development, and in the United States it costs a lot of money and a lot of time to bring a drug to market, and so they're trying to get some money back on that, and I get that. Here's the problem when I talk about administrative costs and middlemen. Prescription benefit managers or pharmacy benefit managers are kind of the unknown behind-the-scenes player in the pharmaceutical world. And what these folks are, these are the people that buy and sell drugs.
So
the way the market. That's right. They're the middleman, and that market works a lot like the commodities market, right? Think of drugs like the stock market, right? You got a ticker symbol running, and the price goes up and it goes down based on cost and demand and value and all of that each and every day. Well, these middlemen called pharmacy benefit managers negotiate that pricing, and then go sell it to the retail pharmacy world through your insurance company, who obviously pays the tab once you've paid your copay. And the American public is kind of blind to this, and so long as I've got my $20 copay, well, who really cares? Here's the problem there. Roughly 80% of all the drugs in the United States are bought and sold by one of 3 manufacturers, pharmacy benefit managers. All 3 are actually owned by the insurance companies. So the three drivers of 80% of the distribution of drugs that really are setting the price of the drugs, these are the folks that control the pricing of the marketplace, are all owned by insurance companies. And when we pay that $20 copay, but the insurance market pays, we'll say, $100 on behalf of us for our $20 copay. They're just then turning that back around and making that an insurance premium in time to come. So when when the talking points of the pharmaceutical industry is, well, Americans probably won't even feel the pain of our 6% increase because their copays will stay the same. Well, they're actually going to feel it because their insurance premiums are going to go up as a result.
And do we know how much the insurance companies, as PBMs, are actually, pulling in a year on this?
Well, the market doesn't give us specific indicators as to where the overall revenues are coming from, specific to CVS, which is owned by Aetna, Express Scripts, which is owned by Cigna, and Optum, which is owned by United Healthcare. But a great indicator is the stock price of these three organizations, which is well over 220% increase since the passage of the Affordable Care Act.
220%?
Yeah. ACA really reined in those insurance companies, didn't it?
Yeah, really. So the insurance companies just kind of went, okay, well, we'll just be the dealer.
Here's part of what and again, I think that there were the intentions were good of the ACA, but here's where the ACA fell short, was it focused primarily on the insurance marketplace. Prior to the Affordable Care Act, the insurance industry and the healthcare industry, inclusive of Big Pharma, were in conflict with one another, right? Insurance companies didn't want to pay the claim, and the pharmaceuticals wanted to raise rates, and healthcare hospital systems wanted to increase costs and all that. What the ACA did was, and this was the big thing that was going to rein in insurance companies, was they said insurance companies have to spend 85 cents of every dollar they collect on claims.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, if I am the CFO or CEO of, we'll call it United Health Group, and my fiduciary responsibility is down to my shareholder, and the government has just said that I have to spend 85 cents of the money I collect to spend on claims, I actually need claims to go up, because I'll take 15% of a billion, not 15% of a million. And so we shifted cataclysmically how insurance companies and healthcare systems and pharmaceutical companies integrate. And we want to talk about collusion? This is collusion now. They are working together, and the insurance system is just the financing mechanism of the healthcare system in and of itself.
Why is nobody talking about this?
Well, you are, and I'm glad that you are, because this is something we have to shine a light on. And again, we can all point fingers as to why people aren't talking about this, and part of it is, sadly, the healthcare lobby is larger than tobacco, guns, oil, and defense combined in Washington. So it's not likely we're going to get legislators on board. So what we've got to do is we, the American public, have to do more. We have to, one, pay attention. We've been culpable in this because we just let it happen. We don't think about the long-term expense. All we think about is that $20 copay when I go to the doctor or the drugstore, right? We have to really understand what's happening behind the scenes, and the insurance company being the finance company have to understand that.
That's what they are.
That's right. I encourage your listeners to go to our website, GDPadvisors.com. I posted a blog out there where I've given specific steps that consumers need to do to combat this, because it is us, the consumer, the U.S. taxpayer, the citizens, that are going to be able to change health care for the better. Not likely government's going to do it. And if we want a single-payer system, well, then we can forget having medical innovation going forward, right? Not likely the insurance companies and the healthcare systems are going to wake up tomorrow and decide we don't like these double-digit profits. I think we're going to do the right thing. And unfortunately, right, politicians take too much money from these folks. So it is going to be ultimately up to you and me.
PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. So they get you coming or going. But I'm glad that you point out that insurance companies are really just finance managers.
That's exactly right. If we will start to think about insurance companies more like our mortgage company or more like our car finance company, well, then we might approach things differently. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they said, well, yeah, but my copay is only $20. I said, that's the same as me going to a car dealership and saying, I don't care how long you finance the car, just so long as my car payment's $20. right? Well, that's fine. And the insurance company is going to finance you for the next 20 years. Insurance companies are highly capitalized. They have a lot of cash, and they think in terms of amortization schedules, right? How much are they going to make on you over time? And if you cost them money, I assure you they're not willing to take that loss. They're going to get that money back.
Right, and they're going to do it in the form of higher premiums and higher drug prices.
That's exactly right. Think of it like a payment schedule or a credit card. That ID card, by the way, this is always a fun thing to tell people to do. If you're a listener, pull out your ID card. You're going to see 3 initials on it, BIN, boy, I-N, B-I-N. And whenever I tell people your ID card is more like a credit card, not an ID card, and everybody gives me a blank stare. I said, do you know what BIN stands for? Banking Identification Number. It is literally where they're telling the pharmacy, the doctors, everywhere where to go to get the money. It is the banking identification number.
Seth, give the website again for folks that would like to check out your blog.
Sure, it's GDPadvisors.com.
All right. Seth, a pleasure having you on the show again. We'll look forward to reaching out to you in the future. Keep up the good work there, and we'll look forward to our next visit.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
All right, you take care. Seth Denson, he is a healthcare expert on the Wake Up Call, president of GDP Advisors.